She placed the titanium card on the white linen. In that moment, every secret of money, power, and fear was exposed under the crystal chandeliers of the Pinnacle Clubhouse. "Don't embarrass us," my HOA vice president hissed. But the one being stripped bare tonight was the Karen who'd struck me when I was 19. This lavish HOA gala dinner was a trial, and the bill, with its 40% tip, was the final verdict. My name is Lena Voss. I am 34 years old, and tonight I am a stranger to my own neighborhood board. The air inside the evergreen room is different from the suburban evening breeze we just walked through. It's warm, scented with something that costs money, beeswax candles, aged wine, and the faint clean brine of oysters resting on beds of ice somewhere nearby. The floor-to-ceiling glass wall to our left is a sheet of black ink alive with the glittering diamond prick lights of the manicured golf course and the slow ghostly glide of a golf cart patrolling the perfectly trimmed lawns. We are a tableau of awkwardness and mismatched expectations in this so-called peaceful Evergreen Pines HOA. Karen Maddox, our HOA president, walks with her shoulders bunched. Her blazer is expensive, but she wears it like a threat. Karen is a woman who measures the world by what she can control. Every blade of grass at exactly 2.5 inches, every mailbox painted regulation beige, every flagpole no taller than 4 feet or else. And her eyes are already scanning the room, trying to find a weak point, trying to establish her dominance over the host stand. She's irritated. This place, with its hushed tones and ceilings so high they get lost in shadow, makes her feel small, and Karen hates feeling small. My neighbor Vivian flutters beside her, clutching her vintage beaded purse. Her eyes are wide, taking in the soft glow of the recessed lighting. She's nervous, her small smile aimed at no one in particular, just a shield against the oppressive elegance. She has no idea what I do. Not really. To her, I'm still just Lena, the quiet new homeowner who moved in 15 years ago, the one who runs a little event business. She is the reason for this dinner, her retirement celebration. Behind them, my HOA sister Greer, the vice president in charge of communications, walks with a spine so straight it could snap. Her gaze is a rapid, critical assessment of everything: the other board members, the staff's uniforms, the quality of the linen. Judgment is Greer's native language. Beside her, her husband Jared is already doing what he always does. His phone is angled slightly away, the blue light of the screen illuminating his face as his thumb scrolls. He's not looking at the view of the perfectly edged sidewalks. He's looking for the prices. He's mentally auditing the menu, calculating the markup, building a case for how fiscally irresponsible this all is. And then there's Evan, the young treasurer fresh out of his MBA program. He looks around with a different kind of calculation. He's not seeing a clubhouse. He's seeing a business model. He's analyzing the flow of service, the table turnover rate, the probable cost of goods. I walk last, the anchor to this strange tense parade. Karen puffs her chest slightly as we approach the host stand, ready to announce her presence, to take charge. But the man waiting, not a host, but the general manager, his suit a quiet, perfect charcoal, steps forward before Karen can speak. His eyes find mine instantly. There is no hesitation, just quiet, professional recognition. "Good evening, Ms. Voss. Welcome back. We have the evergreen room ready for you." The silence that follows is so absolute it feels like the piano music, a distant crystalline cascade of notes, has frozen midair. Vivian's nervous smile flickers. "Oh, Lena," she whispers, her hand flying to her throat. You know them here." Greer's head snaps toward me, her perfectly drawn eyebrows pulled together. It's not just confusion. It's a micro-expression of suspicion. The world, according to Greer, has a specific order. Her being the most important person in any room is part of that order. This me being greeted by name, Ms. Voss, in a place she's only read about in the HOA newsletter, is a tear in the fabric of her reality. Karen's face has gone rigid. She was bypassed. The power dynamic she expected to establish on entry has evaporated. She looks at the manager, then at me, her jaw working silently. Jared actually looks up from his phone. His expression one of profound annoyance, as if a waiter had just spilled water on him. This wasn't in the script. Evan just watches me, the analyst. A new unexpected variable has been introduced and he is reassessing his entire equation. This way, please, the manager says, unfazed, gesturing for us to follow. We walk. The carpet is so thick it silences our footsteps, leaving only the sound of the piano and the impossibly quiet clink of heavy silverware on china from unseen tables. We move through the main dining room, a sea of white linen and shimmering glass. The light from the chandeliers is warm, but the atmosphere between us is arctic. The sheer scale of the place, the quiet confidence of the staff, the breathtaking, glittering expanse of the perfectly maintained community lake. It's all working on them, pressing them down. This is a lot. Lena, Greer murmurs loud enough for me to hear. It's not a compliment. It's an accusation. A bit ostentatious, don't you think? Especially for someone who's always behind on her HOA dues. I saw this place in the neighborhood bulletin. Jared mutters to her, his phone back in his hand. The tasting menu is $400 a head before wine. He says it like he's announcing a death. Karen says nothing. Her silence is heavier, more menacing than any complaint. She walks stiffly, her gaze fixed on the manager's back, a predator who has lost the scent. We stop, not at a table in the main room, but before a pair of tall, dark mahogany doors. The manager pauses, turning to us. Mounted on the wall beside the door is a small, discreet, polished brass plaque, reserved for the Voss family. They all see it at the same time. They all stop. Voss! Greer's voice is sharp. Paper cut. They made a mistake on the sign. Evan shakes his head slowly, looking at me. No, they didn't. Did they? I look at Vivian, whose hand is now covering her mouth. Her eyes are fixed on the name. Our name. The name Karen has spent the last 15 years trying to erase, to plaster over with her own mediocre brand of HOA excellence. Karen's face is no longer just rigid. It's gone cold, pale. This is not an inconvenience. It's an insurrection. She hates my father's name. She hates the reminder that I am a product of a life that existed entirely outside of her control. She looks at the plaque as if it's a personal insult, a physical blow. It's for your retirement, Vivian. I say softly, keeping my voice light. I wanted it to be special. Vivian's eyes fill with tears. Oh, Lena, she whispers. And this time, it's not anxiety. It's something else. Something I haven't heard in her voice in 15 years. Pride. She reaches out and her fingers trace the engraved letters. Voss. That single word spoken with that nostalgic tenderness lands on Karen like a judgment. Her face darkens. The manager pulls open the heavy doors, revealing our private room. It's magnificent. A long dark wood table already set. 3 walls are glass, giving us a panoramic 180 degrees view of the water and the city lights twinkling beyond the gates. It feels as if we are floating above the ridiculous rules of the neighborhood. They file in, all of them lurching and awkward, destabilized. They are grappling with a question that hangs unspoken in the air. How is Lena, the quiet one, the scholarship girl, as Karen used to call me, the one with the little hobby business, doing this? Jared is probably already running a credit check in his head. Evan is reverse engineering my business model and failing. Greer is searching for a flaw, a smudge on the glass, a chip in the china, anything to reclaim her superiority. We take our seats. The scrape of the heavy chairs on the wood floor sounds loud, accusatory. In the sudden quiet, the manager asks if we'd like to begin with a drink, and I nod, ordering a specific champagne he and I had already discussed. He bows slightly and retreats, closing the doors, leaving us alone. The five of them stare at me. The glittering view, the perfect table, the heavy silence. It's a stage, and I've just walked to the center of it. Greer leans forward. Her lipstick is a perfect hard shade of burgundy. Her voice is a low, controlled hiss, a corporate directive meant to cut, meant to put me back in my place. Lena, what is all this? Don't embarrass us. Greer's words hang in the pressurized silence. Don't embarrass us is not a request. It's a command. The fundamental thesis of our neighborhood dynamic. Perform.
Conform.
Do not make Karen uncomfortable. Especially not with your lawn edging or your choice of holiday lights. I let the accusation settle, refusing to catch it. I just look past her to Vivian, whose eyes are still wide, darting from the view to the flowers on the table. Happy retirement, Vivian. Vivian's smile is brittle. She is caught, as she always is, between Karen's simmering anger and a situation she doesn't understand. Heavy leather-bound menus are presented by a new server. This one is younger, precise, his movements economical. He introduces himself as Thomas and places the menus before us as if they are diplomatic treaties. Evan opens his, but his eyes aren't on the food. They are on the infrastructure, the embossed logo, the weight of the cardstock, the sheer number of staff visible in the main dining room. He leans an almost imperceptible inch toward Jared. His voice a low analytical hiss. This place, the footprint, the view, the staff-to-guest ratio. This is a 7-figure-a-month operation. Easy. Jared just grunts. His focus is as always glued to the right side of the page. I can see the small muscle in his jaw tighten as he reads the prices. He's not enjoying the anticipation. He's doing angry math. The champagne I pre-ordered arrives. Thomas presents the bottle to me, not to Karen. I nod. The muffled pop of the cork sounds like a gunshot in the tense quiet. Karen actually flinches. We are served. Greer ignores her flute. As Thomas steps back, she seizes the leather-bound wine tome from the center of the table. It's an act of reclamation. Right? She announces, her voice bright and false, the voice she uses to manage difficult residents. Let's get some proper wine for the table. I'll handle this. Lena. She flips the pages, scanning for a name she recognizes, a label that can reestablish her as the arbiter of taste. A Chablis. I think. Something classic. She's signaling that my champagne choice was novel, perhaps frivolous. Thomas, professional and still, looks only to me. The entire table looks to me. This is the first test. Seat control or hold it. I offer Thomas a small polite smile. Thank you, Greer. That's thoughtful, but I think for the halibut, a simple Chablis is a bit expected. Don't you think? Greer's hand freezes on the page. I turn my gaze to Thomas. My voice is quiet, conversational. Thomas, do you still have any of the 14 Raveno-Valmer Grand Cru? Thomas, God bless his training, doesn't even blink. We do. MS. Voss. An excellent choice. Is drinking beautifully right now. Shall I decant it? Please, I say. Just for a few minutes. It doesn't need much. Greer slowly closes the wine list. The thud of the heavy leather on the linen is definitive. I didn't just counter her. I trumped her. I specified a producer, a vineyard, and a vintage that isn't on the public list. It's a subtle surgical cut. She knows it. I've just informed her without saying a word that she is out of her depth. Her face is a mask of controlled fury. Karen has been watching this exchange. Her menu lowered. Her lip curls in that familiar dismissive sneer. Phony, she mutters just loud enough. Karen, please, Vivian whispers, her hand fluttering near her arm, not daring to make contact. No, it's true, Vivian, she says, her voice rising, projecting to the table. It's all phony, ostentatious, throwing money around you don't have. It's just tacky. This is her classic maneuver. When you cannot compete, you ridicule. You dismiss the entire game as corrupt or stupid. She's attempting to reset the hierarchy, placing herself at the top as the arbiter of real value and me at the bottom as a phony. I refuse the bait. My goal tonight is fixed. Celebrate Vivian and establish the new terms. Arguing is not on the agenda. I keep the smile fixed. It's thin, brittle, but it's there. It's a retirement, Karen. Retirements are supposed to be special. Thomas returns, moving with that silent, frictionless efficiency. He refills our water glasses. He adjusts a fork. And every time he addresses a question to the table, his eyes land on me. Will you be having the tasting menu, Ms. Voss, or ordering à la carte? We'll be ordering à la carte. Very good, Ms. Voss. That Ms. Voss lands like a hammer blow every time. It's the third time. Greer's knuckles are white on her champagne stem. Karen is glaring at the waiter's back as he retreats. They are a board unit defined by a clear pecking order. Karen is the president. Greer is the heir apparent. I am the problematic, distant outlier who keeps getting fined for aesthetic violations. Thomas, by simply doing his job and recognizing the host, is committing an act of profound social rebellion. The room is beautiful. The light from the community lights glitters across the dark water. The view a silent moving piece of art. The table is immaculate, but the words are knives. They are small, sharp, and designed to slide between the ribs. That little house of yours, Greer says, finally sipping her champagne as if it's medicine. It must be nice, but it's so small. How do you afford to splurge like this? Lena, are you saving anything? The implication is clear. You are irresponsible. This is a fluke. You're living beyond your means and you will come crashing down. Jared, ever the accountant, chimes in, his phone now ostensibly put away. It's a dangerous trap, Lena. Lifestyle inflation. You get one good client. You spend it all. Next thing you know, you're 40 with no equity. You should be putting that into a high-yield savings account. Or at least a CD. Jared's right. Evan adds, the MBA analyst. The ROI on a dinner is, well, it's negative obviously, unless you're leveraging it for networking, but he gestures around the private room. This seems more emotional than strategic. They are attacking me with their own worldviews, Greer with social status, Jared with fiscal prudence, Evan with business strategy. They are all, in their own way, calling me a fool. And Karen just watches, the faint, satisfied smirk on her face. Her troops are doing the work for her. I wait until Thomas has taken our orders. I need a moment. I need to let the pressure build without me. And I need to know what they say when I'm not the one they're speaking to. As Thomas collects the menus, I raise my hand slightly. Thomas, forgive me. I should have mentioned this when I booked. I say, my voice filled with polite manufactured concern. Vivian has a sensitivity and allergy really to tree nuts, particularly walnuts and pecans. Could you please double-check with the kitchen that the halibut preparation is completely clear? This is true. Vivian is allergic, but I had already confirmed this twice by email and once by phone. Voss Atlas Events doesn't do last-minute oversights. Thomas nods gravely. Of course, Ms. Voss. I will check immediately. Actually, I say, starting to slide my chair back, my napkin in hand. It's a bit complex. Let me just come with you. I can speak to the chef directly for just a moment. I look at my board. Please, everyone, enjoy the champagne. I'll be right back. I've given them the perfect excuse. I'm being concerned. Fussy, neurotic Lena. All the things they expect. Karen rolls her eyes. For God's sake, Lena, it's an allergy. They know what they're doing. I'm sure they do, I say, placing my napkin on my chair. I just want it to be perfect for Vivian. I stand and walk out, following Thomas. We step into the main corridor, which is quieter, carpeted. Thomas and I walk a few paces. He's a consummate professional. He knows exactly what I'm doing. The kitchen has her allergy flagged on all dockets. Ms. Voss, he says quietly, not breaking stride. The halibut is steamed with herbs and wine. No nuts in the vicinity. I know, Thomas, I murmur, handing him a folded $100 bill. You're doing wonderfully. Thank you. Give me about 2 minutes. He accepts the bill without a glance. It vanishes into his palm. Of course. He nods and disappears toward the kitchen. I don't go far. I step back into a small shadowed alcove in the corridor right next to the heavy mahogany doors of our private room. They are thick, but they are not perfectly soundproof. And my board, now that the target is gone, will not be whispering. I wait 10 seconds. 15. First, Jared's voice, brash and triumphant. Did you see that? Let me talk to the chef. She thinks she's a damn queen. She's probably maxing out 3 credit cards to pull this stunt. We're going to be getting calls from collection agencies. Then Evan, analytical. The 14 Raveno Valmer. I just looked it up. I hear the tapping of his phone keys. Holy okay. That's a $900 bottle of wine wholesale. Where is she getting that kind of cash? That's just bad capital allocation. Then Greer. Her voice is the one that cuts the most. It's dismissive, filled with a definitive, catty certainty. The voice of a woman who has just solved a puzzle and is deeply proud of herself. Oh, please, she scoffs. You're all so naive. It's obvious, isn't it? A short pause. She's sleeping with someone, Greer declares. The manager, the chef, someone rich. Look at how they fawn over her. Yes, Miss Voss. Of course, Miss Voss. She's probably been here a dozen times on his dime. This isn't her money. She's just borrowing the status. It's pathetic, really, and tacky. Just like Karen said, using Vivian's retirement to show off a man she's dating. It's embarrassing. I lean my head back against the cool plaster wall. There it is. The easiest, cheapest explanation. The one that requires no shift in their perception of me. I am not successful. I am not smart. I am just a woman using her body to get things. It's the story they're comfortable with. Keeps me small. Keeps me beneath her. I wait. I listen for Vivian's voice. I expect a quiet, oh dear, or a don't be cruel. But there is only silence. I listen harder. I hear Karen murmur. Makes sense. I hear Jared chuckle. But from Vivian, nothing. I risk a tiny fractional peek around the door jamb. The door is cracked just enough. And I see her. Vivian is not participating. She is not nodding. She is not laughing. She is sitting perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap. She is watching her board, her president, her treasurer, her vice president tear me apart. And then I see her do something I have never seen her do before. She turns her head slightly and looks at the open door. Toward the main dining room, she watches as Thomas passes by, directing a busboy with a quiet, authoritative gesture. She watches the GM now at the host stand speaking respectfully to an elderly couple. She is observing the ecosystem of the clubhouse. She is seeing the way the staff moves, the respect they show each other, the respect they showed me. She is, for the first time, not listening to the narrative being fed to her. She is collecting her own data. A small, almost imperceptible shift. But it's there. She didn't defend me, but she didn't join them. It's enough. I take a breath, smooth my dress. I push the anger down. It's not time. The anger is fuel, not fire. The fire comes later. I step back into the room. They all go silent instantly. The sudden hush is an admission of guilt. Greer picks up her champagne. Jared clears his throat and looks at the view. Karen stares at her empty plate. I slide back into my seat, placing my linen napkin back on my lap. I smile, projecting a calm I do not feel, a calm I have manufactured for this exact moment. It's all taken care of, I say brightly. The kitchen is preparing a special amuse-bouche for Vivian right now, completely nut-free. I pick up my own champagne, the glass cool against my fingers. Now, I say, raising the glass. Where were we? The doors swing open and the mood shifts instantly. It's not just Thomas. It's two servers moving with a silent synchronized grace. This is the ballet of high-end service, and it's a performance I've staked my career on. They place the appetizers for Karen, Greer, Evan, and Jared. It's the seared scallop with a saffron risotto. The scent is rich, buttery, and undeniably expensive. But they stop at Vivian. Thomas, holding a different pristine white plate, leans down. His voice is a respectful murmur meant only for her. Mrs. Grant, he says, using the name she goes by, the only respectful choice he has. The chef was concerned about cross-contamination with the scallops marinade. He has prepared a steamed Pacific halibut with a simple lemon dill reduction and early harvest olive oil. It is entirely nut-free. Vivian stares at the dish. It's beautiful, delicate, white, and clean. She looks at Thomas, stunned. Then she looks at me. Her eyes are wide. This is not the perfunctory, eye-rolling accommodation she's used to from Karen. Just tell her to eat the salad for Christ's sake. This is care. This is a detail planned in advance, executed without fuss, just for her. Thank you, she whispers to Thomas. Enjoy it, Vivian, I say quietly. They dig in. The silence is profound, broken only by the click of heavy silver on porcelain. It's the silence of people who have just been confronted with undeniable quality. My God, Evan murmurs, his MBA analysis forgotten for a moment. The sear on this scallop is its perfect. Jared just nods, chewing, his eyes closed. He's a man who understands money, and this tastes like it. Vivian takes a hesitant bite of her halibut. Her face, so often pinched with anxiety, softens. It's a genuine, unforced expression of pleasure. It's a look I haven't seen in 20 years. The piece lasts for exactly 15 seconds. Karen sets her fork down. The sound is a sharp metallic report in the quiet room. All right, Lena. Her voice is not conversational. It's the voice she uses when she's about to issue a new fine for unsightly holiday decorations. Enough of the magic show. I'm going to ask you one more time. Where did the money for this come from? She leans forward, her bulk straining the buttons of her blazer. Are you in debt? Did you borrow it? Because if you've put Vivian's name on any paperwork, so help me God. The threat hangs in the air, thick and oily. She's not asking. She's hunting. She is searching for the vulnerability, the fraud, the lie. Because in her world, this level of success, my success, cannot be legitimate. It must be a house of cards. She just has to find the right spot to push. Before I can answer, Greer sets her own fork down. A more delicate, dismissive gesture. Karen, don't be so coarse. She waves a hand as if swatting away her crude approach. She then turns that hand and its perfectly manicured nails toward me. She adopts her mentor voice, the one she uses on new residents she's about to fine. Lena, darling. She begins, her voice dripping with condescension. It's impressive on a superficial level, I suppose, but it isn't sustainable. A single flashy dinner doesn't make a career. She sips her Chablis, a small knowing smile on her lips. I've actually been meaning to talk to you. We're expanding the communications team at the board level. It's a real job, Lena. Proper health insurance. A future. I could probably get you an interview for a junior coordinator position. She lets that land. Junior coordinator. An entry-level coffee-fetching, copy-making job. You're good with details when you focus, she continues. A sliver of magnanimity. It's time to stop playing at this little event business of yours and get your foot in the door of the real world. She is in one clean motion attempting to reestablish the hierarchy. She is the executive. I am the hobbyist. She is offering to save me from my own ridiculous, unsustainable fantasy. My eardrums are buzzing. The room seems to tilt. It's not just Greer. It's Evan, too, who jumps in, eager to prove his own intellectual superiority. Greer's right about the sustainability. Lena, he says, leaning forward, the professor addressing a dim student. Your entire model is flawed. You're clearly high-end, high-touch, but that's not scalable. The real money isn't in these emotional one-off parties. He taps the table, ticking off points. It's B2B, business to business, corporate contracts, multi-year retainers. That's where the margins are. You should be focused on building a stable client base. Not this. He gestures around the magnificent floating room, dismissing it as a strategic failure. Junior coordinator. Not scalable. Flawed model. The words blur. The glittering lights of the lake outside suddenly merge with the fluorescent buzz of a college library. I'm 19. My first HOA meeting, the one with the trust fund neighbor and the sailing team jacket, is breaking up with me. His face is a mask of polite regret. You're brilliant, Lena, he'd said, his hand on my arm. But you'll always be the scholarship girl. You try too hard. It's exhausting, trying too hard. That's what this is. They aren't seeing success. They are seeing a desperate, frantic, exhausting attempt to look successful. They are seeing the scholarship girl who got one lucky break and is spending it all in one night trying to impress the adults. They will not accept that this is not a performance. It is simply my Tuesday. The anger, cold and sharp, rises in my throat. I swallow it. I force my face into a mask of polite consideration. I turn to Evan. B2B. That's a very interesting strategy. Evan. Thank you for the insight. I turn to Greer. A junior coordinator position. That's so thoughtful of you, Greer. I'll certainly keep it in mind. My voice is a sheet of ice. Smooth, flat, and cold. It's not the reaction they wanted. My compliance, my lack of defensiveness enrages them. You didn't answer my question, Karen barks, her fist clenching on the table. The money. Lena, I want to see a bank statement. I want to know. The mahogany door opens. Thomas steps in. He does not look at Karen. He does not acknowledge the raised voice or the tension. His entire universe consists of me. MS. Boss. My sincere apologies for the interruption. His voice is a quiet bomb, but it cuts through Karen's rage like a scalpel. The Raveno. I wanted to ensure it is decanting to your satisfaction. Is the temperature correct? The entire table freezes. The attack is suspended midair. I lift my glass. I study the wine's color against the light. I take a small considered sip. The entire room waits. Karen's face is a mottled furious red. Greer looks like she's been slapped. It's opening up perfectly. Thomas, I say, my voice calm. The citrus notes are just coming forward. It's lovely. My compliments to the sommelier. Thomas gives a small sharp bow. Excellent. And for your main course, you requested the cellar pairing, not the one listed on the tasting menu. The 2010 Court Charlemagne is breathing now. We will be ready to pour it precisely upon service. Thank you, Thomas. That's perfect. Very good, Ms. Voss. And he's gone. The door clicks shut. The silence he leaves behind is a new kind. It's shattered. He didn't just interrupt. He obliterated their interrogation. In 30 seconds, he confirmed without me saying a word that I am not a junior coordinator. I am not the scholarship girl. I am the woman who discusses rare off-menu vintages and cellar pairings. I am the one with the authority. The axis of power on the table has just been ripped from its moorings and planted firmly at my feet. Greer is the first to recover, and she does it badly. Her control is gone. Well, she says, her voice at least 2 dB too loud for the room. She's projecting her boardroom voice, the one she uses when she's lost her audience and is trying to win them back with sheer volume. As I was saying, the metrics for success in any real communications field are based on, she's talking, but the words are just noise. Jared is nodding vigorously beside her, his head bobbing like a puppet. But Evan is quiet. He's looking at his phone, his thumb flying. He's not looking up wine anymore. He's looking up me. Karen is just staring at me, her eyes narrowed to slits. She is recalculating. She has lost control of the narrative, and it is driving her insane. I let Greer's voice fade into the background. I don't need to listen to it. I turn my gaze to Vivian and my heart stops. She isn't listening to Greer. She isn't cowering from Karen's silent rage. She's eating her halibut slowly, taking tiny bites, and there on her face is a small secret smile. It's the first real smile I've seen from her tonight. She has just watched her president and her vice president try to tear me down and then watched a professional with effortless grace confirm my authority. She has just been served a dish crafted specifically, respectfully for her. My entire company, Voss Atlas Events, is built on a single principle, a mantra I drill into my team. Quality is in every single detail. Karen's entire life is about shortcuts, about bluster, about using other people's money and other people's names, about the appearance of success with none of the substance. Vivian is for the first time in 2 decades seeing the two philosophies side by side. She is tasting the difference. She sees the quality in my details and she is smiling. The main courses have been cleared. The last of the dessert wines sipped. For the past hour, a fragile, hollow truce has held. I answered their questions with polite, empty deflections. Greer lectured on corporate branding. Evan offered unsolicited advice on supply chain logistics for neighborhood events. Karen remained a silent, brooding thundercloud at the head of the table. They tried with their words and their worlds to shrink me back to my designated size, but the effortless difference of the staff had acted as a constant quiet counter-narrative. Now the performance is over. Thomas enters, moving with the same silent precision as before. He places a small rectangular object in the dead center of the table. It's a simple, elegant bill folder bound in dark, supple leather. It sits there like an unexploded bomb. The silence is absolute. Everyone stares at it. This is the moment of accounting. The point where the fantasy of the evening must collide with the cold, hard reality of a 4-figure bill. This is the moment they have all been waiting for. The moment they believe I will be exposed. Greer, ever the protagonist of her own story, is the first to move. She doesn't reach for the folder. She snatches it. Her movement is sharp, proprietary. It's a power grab. She flips it open, her eyes scanning the total, a small, sharp intake of breath. She looks up, her face a perfect mask of magnanimous, pitying concern. "Oh, Lena," she says, her voice loud enough to feel like a public service announcement. "Darling, you really shouldn't have." She pulls her own platinum card from her wallet. "Don't you worry about a thing. I've got this. It's Vivian's retirement after all." She looks at me, a cruel, knowing glint in her eyes. Just Venmo me for the tip later. 10% should be fine. It's a masterclass in condescension. In one move, she has framed me as a reckless child, rescued me from my own fiscal irresponsibility, and insulted my social grace. Jared, her loyal, boorish lieutenant, sees his opening to twist the knife. He leans back in his chair, pitching his voice to Carrie. "That's a relief," he says, a smug grin spreading across his face. "For a minute there, I thought we'd have to pass a hat around. Does anyone need to chip in for Lena?" The humiliation is thick, suffocating. I can feel Vivian shrinking in her seat. Evan has the decency to look down at his plate, but Greer and Karen are watching me, their expressions hungry, waiting for me to crumble. I don't speak. I don't defend myself. Slowly, deliberately, I reach into my handbag. I don't pull out a wallet. My fingers find the cool, heavy object directly. I bring it out. It's a card, but it doesn't look like one. The solid metal, anodized to a deep matte black that seems to drink the light from the chandeliers. There is no raised number, only my name, laser-etched in a clean, minimalist font. It's an American Express Centurion. I hold it for a single theatrical beat. Then I place it on the table. It doesn't click. It doesn't clatter. The heavy solid titanium makes a soft, definitive thud as it lands on the crisp white linen. The sound, as quiet as it is, silences the entire room. Greer's hand, holding her own platinum card aloft, freezes midair. Jared's smirk vanishes. They all stare at the black card. It lies there on the white tablecloth like a singularity, a small piece of a universe they do not understand and did not know existed. Karen is the first to break the spell. She lets out a short, sharp bark of a laugh. It's a harsh, ugly sound. "A fake," she sneers, her lip curling. "You got a prop from one of your little parties." How pathetic. Greer's face floods with relief. Of course, that's the answer. She smiles. A wide, triumphant, deeply satisfied smile. She has been proven right. I am a fraud. "Oh, Lena," she sighs, shaking her head. "The things you do for attention." Thomas, who has been standing patiently by the door, steps forward. He has seen the black card. His professional composure is flawless, but I can see a flicker of something in his eyes. Not surprise, but a deep, focused caution. He picks up the leather folder and my card, holding it carefully by the edges. He turns to me. His voice is a low, impeccably polite murmur. "Ms. Voss," he says, his eyes meeting mine. "My apologies. For a card of this classification, our terminal is not equipped. I am required to call for a voice authorization with our accounts manager. Would that be all right?" Greer's smile widens. She thinks this is the beginning of the end. The moment the manager comes out and cuts the card in half, she is practically vibrating with schadenfreude. I look at Thomas. I don't smile. I just nod, my expression unreadable. "Of course, Thomas," I say, my voice perfectly level. "Please go right ahead. Do whatever you need to do." He gives a small, sharp bow and retreats, closing the mahogany doors behind him, leaving us in a pressurized, ringing silence. The wait is excruciating for them. For me, it is the final satisfying turn of a key in a well-oiled lock. Less than a minute passes. The doors open again. It's not Thomas. It's the general manager, the same man who greeted us upon arrival. His face is pale. He walks quickly directly to me, ignoring everyone else at the table. He is holding my card in his hand as if it is a holy relic. They all lean forward. This is it, the denouement. The manager stops beside me. He is visibly flustered. "Ms. Voss," he begins, his voice tight with professional horror. "Please accept my deepest, Most sincere apologies for my staff's hesitation. Greer's smile falters. This is not the script. I was just reminded by my controller. The manager continues, his eyes locked on mine, pleading for understanding. That Voss Atlas events, you produced both of the regional HOA summits for the state last year in this very clubhouse. He gestures vaguely toward the walls. We should have recognized your account status immediately. There is no excuse. This is an embarrassing oversight on our part. The sound of Greer's jaw metaphorically hitting the floor is a sound I will cherish for the rest of my life. Her face has gone from triumphant to slack-jawed shock. Karen looks like she's been punched in the gut. Her face is a mask of disbelief. Her mind furiously trying to process a piece of data that her entire worldview rejects. The manager isn't finished. He makes a small sharp gesture to a sommelier who has appeared as if by magic at the door holding a bottle of champagne in a bucket of ice. As a small token of our profound apology for the inconvenience, the manager says, please accept a bottle of the 1996 Salon with our compliments. The sommelier steps forward, presenting the legendary bottle. The manager's next words are the final perfect cut. He looks at Vivian, then back to me. For you, Ms. Voss, and for your guest. He has with 2 words recontextualized the entire evening. Vivian is no longer Karen Maddox's vice president here for her retirement. She is my guest. This is my event. I am the host. I am the power at the table. While the manager is murmuring his final apologies, I glance at Evan. He has been on his phone under the table for the last 5 minutes. His face is white as a sheet. His eyes, when they meet mine, are wide with a terrifying new understanding. He has found it. The website, the press releases, the photos of massive, complex, flawlessly executed events, all under the Voss Atlas Events banner. He is staring at me, not as his odd, quiet neighbor, but as the CEO of a multimillion-dollar corporation he had never even known existed. Finally, I look at Vivian. She is not looking at the manager or the expensive champagne or her stunned president. She is looking at me, and in her eyes for the first time there is no confusion. There is no doubt. There is no nervous anxiety. There is just a quiet, slow dawning and deeply resonant pride. The kind of pride a neighbor has when she finally sees another resident whole and complete and powerful for the very first time. She is seeing Lena Voss and she understands. The general manager gives one last mortified bow. The sommelier who has opened the 1996 Salon with the reverence of a priest handling a holy relic pours a small taste for me to approve. I nod. He pours. The pale gold liquid with its impossibly violent, almost angry fizz fills 6 glasses. Then, as silently as they came, they are gone. The doors click shut. We are alone again. But the room is completely different. The air has been sucked out, replaced by a dense, vibrating vacuum. No one speaks. No one moves. No one breathes. They are all staring at me as if I have just unzipped my skin and revealed an alien beneath. The bottle of Salon, a name that even Jared would recognize from rap songs, sits on the table like a trophy from a battle they didn't know was being fought. Evan is the first to make a sound. It's a small strangled noise, a failed attempt at speech. He's looking at his phone, his face the color of bleached bone. Voss Atlas Events, he whispers, his voice hoarse. He's not talking to me. He's reading the Puget Sound Business Journal. Titans of Logistics, how Lena Voss's event company conquered the West Coast. He looks up from the screen, his eyes wide, unblinking. He looks frightened. That's you, he states. It's not a question. It's a diagnosis. The regional HOA summits. The multi-state community conferences, that was you. Greer's head snaps toward him, then to me. What is he talking about? That's a huge firm. That's not Lena. Lena does parties. Her voice is shrill. Her denial a flimsy paper shield against a tidal wave of fact. Tell them, Lena, Karen growls, her voice low. Dangerous. She has recovered from the shock. Now she is rearranging the board. Tell them what kind of lie you've spun. Tell them who you're a front for. I pick up my glass of Ceylon. I take a slow, deliberate sip. The champagne is extraordinary, like drinking a captured effervescent star. I set the glass down. There's no front. Karen, I say. My voice is quiet, but it fills the room. It's the first time all night I have used my real voice, not the resident's voice, not the victim's, my CEO voice. I founded Voss Atlas Events in 2019. Year 1. We had 6 clients, mostly small corporate retreats, executive dinners. It was just me and a part-time assistant. We reinvested every cent. Year 2. We grew to 18 clients, and I hired my first 2 full-time employees. We were still small, still under the radar. I look at Evan. But you were right about one thing, Evan. The one-off parties aren't scalable. They were our proof of concept. I turn my gaze. Our turning point was the CMED conference in 2021, the Multi-State Medical Tech Summit. Their original logistics firm went bankrupt 6 weeks before the event. It was 20,000 attendees, 5 primary venues in 3 different cities, all needing to run concurrently. The logistics were complex. We took the contract. We executed it flawlessly. Greer is shaking her head. A small, repetitive, negative motion. No, you can't. That's impossible. A staff. You'd need a huge staff. I have a core team of 42 people, I say planners, producers, technical directors, and logistics managers. And no, we don't rent. We own. I have a 30,000 square foot warehouse and fulfillment center in Soto. Audiovisual, lighting, custom fabrication, furniture, a full floral design studio. We control the entire supply chain. It's the only way to guarantee quality. My company motto is quality is in every single detail. It's the only way to run a business. Jared, who has been silent all night, finally speaks. His voice is a thin, reedy squeak. A warehouse in Soto. The capital expenditure, he can't finish the thought. His brain, so used to calculating my perceived failures, has short-circuited. And the money, Karen says, her voice flat. She's given up on the fraud angle. Now she's just a brute demanding the number. What's the number, Lena? What does this business of yours actually make? I look at her. This is the moment. The accounting last fiscal year. Our gross revenue was... I pause as if checking the figures in my head. It's a slight range as we're still closing out the books on 2 international contracts. But it will land somewhere between 48 and 55 million. The silence in the room is no longer a vacuum. It is a solid object. It is a block of cement that has just fallen on the table, crushing everything. Greer makes a small, sharp sound, like a bird being strangled. Jared's mouth is hanging open. Evan's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated awe. He's no longer my neighbor. He's a first-year MBA student who has just met a god of finance. But my gaze is fixed on Karen. And to answer your question from earlier, Karen, I say, my voice dropping, becoming as cold and as sharp as the tines of my fork. The question you've been asking all night. The money. It was built with standard bank financing, secured entirely by company assets and my own personal guarantees. There were no neighborhood loans. I lean an inch closer to her, and not one single cent was ever leveraged against Vivian's house. Her face, which had been red with anger, goes pale. I have just taken her primary weapon, Vivian's financial security, the one thing she holds over her, over all of us, and informed her that it is useless, a toy gun. My business, I continue, my voice a clinical summary, is built on standardized checklists, obsessive pre-planning, and absolute invisible back-end control. I learned a long time ago from watching women like you that bluster and volume don't mean anything. The real power isn't on the stage trying to get applause. The real power is in the logistics. It's in the quiet, unseen work. It's in knowing with absolute certainty that every single piece of the puzzle is exactly where it's supposed to be before the show even starts. Greer finally finds her voice. The shock has passed, and in its place is a hot, acrid new emotion, betrayal. You hid this, she hisses. Her face is twisted. This isn't confusion. It's fury. All these years. The call's home. Oh, things are fine. You made us, you let us, she can't say, look like fools. Why, Lena? Why all the secrecy? Why would you lie to us? I look at my older sister for a moment. The ice in my veins thaws, replaced by a deep cold sadness. Because I needed to know if my neighborhood could love me for who I am. Greer, not for my balance sheet. I say. My voice is very, very quiet. I just wanted to be Lena, the resident, the neighbor, not the CEO, not the one you had to compete with or be jealous of or ask for money. I wanted to be one of you. I let the words hang. I guess I have my answer. Her face crumples. I've just handed her a mirror and she hates the reflection. Evan, ever the analyst, has already rebooted. The shock is gone. Now it's calculation. The margins, he says, his voice breathless, excited. On a 50 million gross with a 42-person overhead and that much physical asset. Jesus, Lena, what are your net margins? 20%? 25%? He's leaning forward, his eyes bright. He sees me for the first time as a colleague, as a goal. I almost smile. I turn to him, my voice softening, but still firm. That's an excellent question for a quarterly meeting, Evan, I say, gently dismissing him. But this is Vivian's retirement party. He has the grace to flush, looking down, chastened. He's been put back in his place. But this time, the place is student, not professor. And then Vivian. She hasn't moved. She has just been watching me. Her eyes tracing my face as if she's never seen it before. Her voice when she speaks is a whisper so fragile I almost miss it. All of this, she says, her hands trembling in her lap. All this work, all these years. Lena, you did all of this alone. Her question is the only one that matters. It's not about the money or the power. It's about the cost. I turn to her and for the first time tonight, my smile is real. It's small and it's tired, but it's real. No, Vivian, I say. Not entirely. I have a team. A very, very good team. I pick up my champagne glass. I look at the glittering, almost silver liquid. It really is an extraordinary champagne, isn't it? I say to the table at large. The 96 Salon is a personal favorite. They've managed to capture this perfect high-acid minerality. I take a sip and then I look at Karen. Her face is a frozen mask of silent, impotent rage. And I should know, I say, my voice light, conversational. I've been a silent investor in the Pinnacle Clubhouse Group for almost 2 years now. I let that land. It's not a controlling interest. Of course, I add as if sharing a fun little secret. Just 5%. But it's enough to get a table when I need one. And it's enough to ensure that my team's events are always well catered. Karen's face, which I thought couldn't get any paler, turns the color of ash. I've just informed her of the final crushing truth. She hasn't just been neutralized on a financial front and a social front. She has been sitting here for 3 hours in my house. The revelation hangs in the room. Poison gas. No one can breathe. Karen's face is a study in collapsed power. She, the master of small-time leverage and petty domains, has been dining in the citadel of her enemy, a guest in my house. Greer is staring into her champagne flute as if it holds the secrets to a universe that has just been rewritten without her consent. Jared is looking at his wife, waiting for his cue. A man without a script. Evan is watching me, his analytical mind completely overwhelmed, a frantic respect dawning in his eyes. Vivian is the only one who seems to be growing. In the stunned silence, she sits up a little straighter. The nervous, fluttering woman who walked in is gone. In her place is Vivian Grant, a woman watching her neighbor take back the world. The moment is perfect. The foundation has been shattered. Now it is time to inspect the rot beneath. My hand moves from my wine glass to my handbag on the floor. The gesture is slow, deliberate. Every eye at the table follows it. I lift the bag, place it on my lap, and click open the clasp. The sound is sharp, definitive. I remove the 9x12 envelope. It's thick, heavy with the weight of documented truth. I don't slide it toward Karen. I don't throw it down like a gauntlet. I place it gently on the table and push it with 2 fingers across the polished wood until it stops directly in front of Vivian. She stares at it, her eyes wide with a new kind of fear. Not fear of Karen. Fear of what this envelope contains. "Lena, what is this?" She whispers. "I'm not sure." "Vivian," I say, my voice soft, almost conversational. "I was hoping you could tell me." Her trembling fingers open the metal clasp. She pulls out the contents. It's not one document. It's a sheaf of papers, printouts of emails, copies of invoices, a signed personal guarantee. Karen goes rigid. She recognizes the letterhead of the local contractor she uses for HOA projects. "What is this nonsense?" she barks, reaching for the papers. I don't raise my voice. I simply put my hand out. A silent stop. She freezes. She is for the first time unsure if she can defy me. "Let her read it." "Karen," I say. Vivian's eyes scan the top page. It's an email from Karen to the contractor. "Don't worry about the payment delay," it reads. Vivian has it covered. Her personal guarantee is attached. Her face drains of all color. She flips through the pages. Another invoice for clubhouse repairs with a note from Karen. "Bill this to Vivian's account." Another, a guarantee for a small equipment rental loan with a signature at the bottom. It is a passable forgery of Vivian's name. The documents detail a series of small but significant debts, all personally guaranteed by a woman who has no idea her name is being used. Her financial future being sold off in $100 increments to keep Karen's failing personal ventures afloat. I don't need to explain. The paper does the work. I lean forward, my voice still quiet, my question aimed only at her. This is critical. This is not a public shaming. This is an inquiry. I am giving her the power of the first response. "Vivian," I say gently, "did you know about any of this? Did you sign that guarantee?" She looks from the forged signature to my face. Her lips part, but no sound comes out. She just shakes her head. A small, violent negative tremor. Her hand holding the papers is shaking so hard they rattle against the table. That is all the confirmation I need. And then the second shock of the evening. "Karen." The voice is not mine. It's Greer's. It is sharp, cold, and utterly devoid of its earlier condescension. She is no longer the mocking vice president. She is the director of communications for a regional firm, and she has just identified a massive flaming liability issue at her own board table. "Explain this," she says. "It is not a request. It is a command." Karen, who was about to explode, is momentarily stunned by the betrayal from her staunchest ally. She turns on her. "This is none of your business, Greer. It's just board paperwork." "Forgery isn't board paperwork." Greer shoots back, her eyes narrowed. "That's Vivian's name. That's our neighborhood's financial security you're playing with." "What the hell did you do, Jared?" Ever the clumsy fool tries to run interference. Now, let's not jump to conclusions," he says, trying for a placating tone. "I'm sure there's a simple explanation. Karen was probably just streamlining the process. Greer turns her head and gives her husband a look of such pure venomous contempt that he actually recoils in his chair. She has just seen him for what he is, not a partner, but Karen's sick little liability. Karen seizes on the distraction, turning her fury back to me. This is because of that night, isn't it? She roars, her voice finally breaking free. 15 years and you're still holding a grudge because I had to teach you a lesson. You bring this garbage. She slams a fist on the table. The glasses jump. The priceless champagne sloshes. You do this to humiliate me. The temperature in the room plummets. I hold up a hand. Stop, I say. My voice is not loud, but it cuts through her rage. We are not talking about when I was 19. We are not talking about the past. We are not talking about your feelings. We are talking about these documents. We are talking about wire fraud and forgery. We are talking about the law. Today I have just reset the terms. She wants to drag this into the murky emotional swamp of the past. I am keeping it in the bright, unforgiving legal light of the present. She opens her mouth to shout again. But at that exact moment, the mahogany door opens. It is the general manager. His face is a mask of professional concern. He walks directly to me, ignoring the tableau of rage and shock. He leans down, his voice a barely audible murmur, a sound of pure discretion. MS. Was. He whispers, his breath warm against my ear. My deepest apologies for yet another interruption. I am so sorry. He pauses. There has been an internal complaint filed by a member of our bar staff, a young woman. He doesn't look at Karen, but his meaning is laser precise regarding an interaction that took place with a member of your party earlier this evening before you were seated. The behavior was reported as unwelcome and aggressive. He takes a small, almost imperceptible breath. I just wanted to make you aware we have, of course, reviewed the security camera footage from the bar area. The complaint appears to be well substantiated. My blood runs cold. I knew Karen was a bully and a cheat. I did not know she was a public predator. The manager straightens up. He has done his duty. He has informed the owner. He gives a tiny, almost invisible nod and retreats, closing the door behind him. I did not hear what he said. I felt it. But Vivian, sitting beside me, heard every single damning word. Her face, which had been pale with fear, crumples. This is the blow she cannot absorb. The money is one thing, a betrayal she has probably suspected for years, but this is public. This is ugly. This is about the character of the woman she has stood beside for 15 years. This is about a young woman, the age her own daughter once was, being harassed in a public place. Her retirement dinner has just become a referendum on her entire life, and the verdict is guilty. She lets go of the papers. They scatter across the table. Her hand comes up to cover her mouth, a gesture of pure, unadulterated horror. The balance of power has not just shifted. It has been annihilated. There is no one on Karen's side. Not Greer, the pragmatist, not Evan, the analyst, and certainly not Vivian. I reach into my handbag one last time. I pull out a second envelope. This one is a standard business size. I slide it across the table to Karen. Her name is not on it. It is addressed to my lawyer, David Chin, whose name and office address are printed in the corner. David, I know, is finishing his second martini at the bar right now, waiting for a text that may or may not come. That, I say, my voice now devoid of all emotion, is a conditional letter of instruction. Karen stares at it, her face slack. It authorizes my attorney to file for an emergency restraining order against you on behalf of Vivian and myself, should certain conditions be met. The conditions are as follows. 1. If you ever use Vivian's name, credit, or signature on any document again. 2. if you contact me or her in a threatening or harassing manner. 3. I pause, letting the weight of the next word settle. If we receive anything less than a full written apology for your behavior tonight, delivered to both the staff member you harassed and the management of this clubhouse by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, I lean back in my chair. The choice, Karen, I say, is entirely yours. For a long moment, the only sound is the frantic rasping sound of Karen's breathing. She is a cornered animal, and the air around her is charged with the threat of violence. She moves. It's not a stand. It's a surge. She shoves her chair back so hard that it screeches against the polished wood floor and slams into the wall behind her. The heavy table lurches. A half-full water glass topples, spilling a sheet of icy water across the dark wood. The sound is a sudden shocking violation of the room's hushed elegance. I do not move. I do not flinch. My eyes remain locked on hers. My hands, however, are busy under the table. I unlock my phone. I send a single pre-written text message to the general manager. It is 2 sentences long. Mr. Alistair, my apologies for the disturbance. Could you have a member of your security team stand discreetly near our corridor? Just as a precaution. I lock the phone and place its screen down on the table. The entire action takes less than 5 seconds. Karen's knuckles are white where she grips the edge of the table. Her face is a dark mottled purple. She is vibrating with a rage that has nowhere to go. You think you can come in here? She says, her voice a low, guttural snarl. With your fake money and your phony lawyers and your stories, and you can destroy my life. She takes a step toward Vivian, her shadow falling over her. Vivian shrinks back, her hands flying up to her face. That is the line. Karen, I say, my voice is not loud, but it is as hard and as cold as steel. It stops her in her tracks. She turns her furious, bulging eyes to me. I was 19 years old the day you hit me, I say, my voice flat, every word a precisely weighed stone. I was legally an adult. You committed assault. I chose not to press charges. I lean forward just an inch. Tonight, no one is touching anyone. Is that clear? The raw physical threat hangs between us. The memory, ugly and violent, is finally brought out into the light, not as a complaint, but as a warning. And then the final pillar of her world collapses. For God's sake, Karen, sit down. It's Greer. Her voice is a furious, mortified hiss. She is on her feet now, her face pale with a rage that mirrors hers. But the target has changed. Don't you dare, she snarls, jabbing a finger in her direction. Don't you dare make a scene in this place. She looks at her and for the first time she is not seeing her president's right-hand woman or a figure of authority. She is seeing a liability, a volatile, embarrassing, brand-damaging amateur. Don't embarrass us, she says, the words dripping with a venom she once reserved only for me. The betrayal stuns her into silence. She looks from Greer's furious face to mine, and she understands. The alliance is broken. The board, her power base, has just publicly and unanimously sided against her. Evan pushes his own chair back, but slowly, quietly, he stands, walks the 2 steps to my side and stops. He doesn't look at Karen. He looks at me. Lena, he says, his voice low, thick with a shame that feels genuine. I'm sorry for what I said. For how he swallows hard. I misjudged you completely. I'm sorry. The apology hangs in the air. A small, quiet, but deeply significant act of surrender. He has just acknowledged the new order. I give him a short, sharp nod. Acknowledged. Accepted. I turn my gaze to Vivian. The dam has broken. Silent tears are streaming down her face, cutting clean tracks through her makeup. But her expression is not one of fear. It is one of a terrible, painful, and profound clarity. These are not the tears of a woman who has lost her financial security. These are the tears of a woman who has just found it and realized the crushing cost of the 15 years she'd spent without it. The forged signature, the harassment of a young woman, the open, snarling threat of violence. It is all here in this beautiful glittering room. The truth has finally taken shape, and it is uglier than she could have ever imagined. I reach into my bag. I pull out a single slim object, a key card. Attached to it is a small leather fob. I place it on the table in front of her next to a simple cream-colored envelope. Her name, Vivian Grant, is written on the front in my handwriting. She looks at it, her brow furrowed in confusion. That's a key card to a 2-bedroom apartment at the Olympus, I say softly. The lease is in my name. It's paid in full for the next 6 months. The welcome letter has the address, the codes, and the details for a car service that is on standby for you 24 hours a day. I look into her tear-filled eyes. This is the most important sentence of the night. I'm not telling you to leave her, Vivian, I say, my voice gentle but firm. I'm not forcing you to resign from the board. I'm just giving you a place to breathe, a place to think. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. You just haven't had a place to make it from. It is an offer of sanctuary, not an ultimatum. It is the purest form of power I can give her, the power of a viable option. Karen lets out that ugly barking laugh again. It's weaker this time, laced with desperation. You think you can buy her? She sneers, gesturing at the keycard with contempt. With your money. You think that solves anything? She looks at Vivian, her expression a toxic mix of ownership and disgust. She's trying to reclaim her territory, to remind her of her dependence. She's my vice president, she spits. And you think you're so smart, but you don't know anything. She's the one with the credit, the name, and then in a final spectacular act of self-immolation, she says the thing that will seal her fate forever. Without her, she sneers, her voice dripping with a resentful truth she can no longer contain. I couldn't borrow a damn dime. The words land, and the entire table goes dead silent. Greer's face is a mask of horror. Evan actually takes a half step back from the table, as if from a physical blow. Karen has just confessed in front of 3 witnesses. One of them a corporate communications director who understands the lethal power of a recorded admission. She has just confirmed out loud with her own mouth the entire fraudulent premise of her life. She just said the quiet part out loud. Karen's confession hangs in the air, sucking the last of the oxygen from the room. It's a raw, ugly, and legally catastrophic admission of guilt. She seems to realize what she's done, her face going slack with a dawning horror. She has, in her final desperate gambit to assert control, handed me the very knife I needed to sever her completely. The mahogany doors open, and the timing is so perfect it feels scripted. It's the general manager. He walks with a quiet, solemn purpose. In his hand is the black leather bill folder. He doesn't look at Karen's shocked face or Greer's horrified one. He walks directly to me and places the folder on the table. Everything has been processed. Ms. Voss, he says, his voice a low, respectful murmur. If you would just sign the charge slip. He opens the folder. Inside is the credit card slip, a pen resting beside it. The ritual of payment, the final act of any social dinner. But tonight, it is not an act of closure. It is the beginning of the sentencing. I pick up the pen. It's heavy, expensive. I sign my name, Lena Voss, on the merchant copy. Then my eyes move to the line that is still blank. The tip. My board is watching. Even in their shock, they are watching this final transactional detail. Greer is probably expecting the 10% she so magnanimously suggested earlier. Jared is likely hoping I'll leave nothing, proving myself to be as cheap as he is. My pen hovers for a moment, then in clean, deliberate numbers, I write in an amount that is exactly 40% of the total bill. I push the folder back toward the manager. He glances down. His professional composure is absolute. But I see his eyebrows lift a fraction of an inch. He sees the number. He understands it instantly. A 40% tip is not a reward for good service. Good service gets 20, maybe 25%. 40% is a statement. It is a political act. It is a declaration of allegiance. MS. Was, he says, his voice low and laced with a new profound respect. That is extraordinarily generous. Thank you on behalf of the entire staff. Your team was exceptional, I say, my voice clear and steady, especially under challenging circumstances. I let my eyes flicker toward Karen for a fraction of a second. Please ensure that a significant portion of this goes directly to the young woman working the bar this evening, the one who had to endure the behavior of my guest. The manager's face becomes a mask of grim understanding. He has just been given his cue. Of course, he says, his voice firm. And regarding that incident, I want to assure you that our policy on staff protection is absolute. The security footage has been archived and will be made available to the authorities should it become necessary. He has just in the most polite and professional way possible informed Karen that she is now a witness for the prosecution. The clubhouse is not a neutral party. It is my ally. It is part of the system now arrayed against her. The manager gives me a short, sharp bow, takes the folder, and retreats, closing the doors on a scene of total annihilation. In the ringing silence, a small warm hand covers mine on the table. It's Vivian's. Her fingers are trembling, but her grip is firm, decisive. It is the first time she has touched me all night. It is a silent physical declaration. She is with me. Across the table, Greer slowly, deliberately picks up her iPhone. For a moment, I think she's going to start typing to try and regain control of the narrative. Instead, she turns it over, screen down, and places it on the table. It is an act of surrender. For the first time in her adult life, she is not trying to manage the situation. She is simply listening. Evan clears his throat. He turns to where the manager just stood, addressing the empty space as if the entire staff were present. Please tell your team. Tell them I apologize for my earlier remarks. He says, his voice quiet but clear. Their operation is it's beyond impressive. I was wrong. Jared just sits there, a ghost at the feast. His jaw is slack. He is irrelevant. A supporting actor whose main character has been written out of the show. Karen tries one last time. She lets out a low, guttural growl, a sound of pure impotent fury. This is, but her words die in her throat. She looks around the table and sees nothing but closed doors. She is no longer looking at a fractured, dysfunctional board she can manipulate. She is looking at a united front. Behind me stands the institutional power of the clubhouse, its policies, its cameras, its lawyers. Behind them stands the full crushing weight of my own financial and legal resources. And in front of her holding my hand is the very woman she just admitted to using as a financial tool. She is surrounded. Checkmate. But the game is not quite over. I reach into my handbag. I pull out the third envelope. This one is from a regional bank. It's addressed to Karen. I slide it across the table. It stops directly in front of her clenched fist. I believe this is yours, I say. She stares at it, her eyes narrowed with suspicion. Slowly, she tears it open. She pulls out the single sheet of paper inside. Her face already pale, turns the color of tallow. What is this? Greer asks, her voice sharp. It's a final notice, I say, my voice calm, clinical. From Columbia Merchants Bank. It concerns a commercial bridge loan MS. Maddox took out 2 years ago for one of her ventures. I look at Vivian. It's the loan she tried to get you to co-sign for. Vivian, the one she forged your signature on. I tapped the scattered papers from the first envelope. It turns out the bank's fraud detection department is better than she thought. They rejected the guarantee, but they issued her a smaller unsecured loan at a much higher interest rate. As you can see, I nod to the paper in Karen's trembling hand. She is 90 days past due. The loan is in default. Karen looks up at me, a flicker of desperate, confused defiance in her eyes. So what? It's a bank issue. It has nothing to do with you. I give her a small, cold smile. It didn't, I say. Until last Tuesday. I let the words settle. That loan is no longer owned by Columbia Merchants Bank. I had my family office acquire her debt portfolio last week. I lean forward, my voice dropping to a whisper that is louder than any shout. You're not in default with the bank anymore, Karen. You're in default with me. And the full immediate repayment of that debt is now at my sole discretion. The air is thick with the metallic taste of Karen's dawning comprehension. The debt is no longer an abstract problem with a faceless bank. It is a personal weapon, and I am the one holding it. My hand goes into my handbag for the final time. I retrieve a fourth and final envelope. It's a crisp standard legal size, the kind that portends only bad news. I don't slide this one. I place it directly in front of Karen on top of the bank's past due notice. The paper is heavy. The font on the front clean and severe. Notice of acceleration of debt. Tucked just behind it, I place a single elegant business card. It doesn't have my name on it. It has the name of the senior partner at the most feared corporate litigation firm in the state. That, I say, my voice a quiet clinical instrument, is a formal notice that your loan is being called effective immediately. The full principal and all accrued interest are due. I tap the business card, and that is an invitation. My legal team has cleared their schedule for a mediation session tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Sharp. Their offices. I lean back. My work almost done. The trap is set. The cage is locked. Now I will offer her the key. However, I continue, my tone shifting to one of reasonable, almost generous negotiation. I am prepared to offer a stay, a forbearance. The debt will be frozen, and we can discuss a long-term low-interest repayment plan that won't result in your immediate bankruptcy. Karen's eyes, which had been glazed with despair, flicker with a desperate, pathetic sliver of hope. This offer, I say, is contingent upon your immediate and complete agreement to 3 conditions. I hold up a finger. 1. By noon tomorrow, my lawyers will have paperwork for you to sign irrevocably removing Vivian's name from every single financial instrument, property title, and business entity you control. She will be rendered a complete financial ghost in your life. I hold up a second finger. 2. You will sign a legally binding non-harassment and non-contact agreement pertaining to both Vivian and myself. Any violation will be met with immediate legal action funded by a retainer I have already paid. I hold up a third finger. And 3. You will draft and sign a formal, unequivocal letter of apology to the staff member you harassed tonight. That letter will be delivered to the general manager of this clubhouse, along with a copy to my legal team before our meeting at 9 a.m. I let the terms settle in the dead air. I have offered her a way out, but the price is her complete and total surrender. If you refuse, I add, my voice dropping back to that cold, flat baseline. If you fail to meet any of these conditions by the specified deadlines, then my bank, which is to say, my family office, will immediately initiate foreclosure proceedings on the single asset you listed as collateral for that loan. I look her dead in the eye. Your business. We will seize the building, the equipment, the client list, everything. You will be wiped out by lunchtime tomorrow. She looks around the table, her eyes wild, pleading. She is searching for an ally, a friendly face, a dissenting opinion. She looks at Jared, who is staring at his own hands as if he's never seen them before. refusing to meet her gaze. She looks at Evan, who watches her with the cold, dispassionate pity of an analyst observing a failed investment. She looks at Greer, her most loyal soldier, who looks back at her with nothing but ice-cold contempt. Her face is a mask of fury, not at me, but at her for being so weak, so stupid, so thoroughly and completely outplayed for embarrassing her. Finally, she looks at Vivian, her vice president, her financial life raft, the cornerstone of her fraudulent empire. Vivian, she rasps, her voice a pathetic croak. Tell them, tell your neighbor. This is insane. Vivian looks at her desperate, crumbling face. She looks at the key card to the Olympus apartment, a small island of possibility in the wreckage of her life. She looks at her board, now a united front. Then she looks at her, and for the first time in 15 years there is no fear in her eyes, only a deep weary and absolute finality. Her hand still holding mine tightens. I am going with my neighbor tonight, she says. Her voice is not a whisper. It is clear. It is steady. It is the sound of a lock rusted shut for decades finally breaking open. I say nothing. I don't need to. I simply nod. A single sharp affirmation. No hug. No tears. No performance. The truth is now a large enough presence to fill the room all by itself. The last of Karen's control snaps. A guttural roar tears from her throat, and she lurches, her hands balling into fists, her body coiling to slam them on the table, to lunge, to do something. She doesn't get the chance. The mahogany door swings open without a sound. A man stands there. He is not a waiter. He is not the manager. He is tall and broad, dressed in a simple, perfectly tailored black suit, an earpiece curled discreetly in his ear. He doesn't enter the room. He simply takes a half step forward. His presence a solid wall of calm professional authority. He says nothing. He doesn't need to. Karen's rage confronted with the effortless systemic power of a man who deals with violent drunks for a living evaporates. The bared teeth, the tensed muscles, the primal roar, it all just withers into a pathetic shuddering silence. She collapses back into her chair, a deflated effigy of a woman. The security guard holds my gaze for a single respectful beat, then melts back into the corridor as silently as he appeared. I stand up. I smooth the front of my dress. The dinner is over. I look down at Karen one last time. This isn't revenge, I say, my voice quiet, matter of fact. This is a firewall. It's risk management. You understand business. You understand the law. I reach out and pick up the heavy pen from the table. I place it back into the bill folder. Then I close the leather cover. The soft thud of the leather closing sounds like a judge's gavel. It sounds like the closing of a casket lid. It is the final sound of a world that has just ended. Vivian stands, then Greer, then Evan. We are a single unit. I turn and lead Vivian toward the door, my hand resting lightly on her back. As we step out, I glance back into the room. A server is already beginning to clear the table. He moves with quiet efficiency. As we pass, he looks up, catches my eye, and gives a small, respectful bow of his head. The verdict has been delivered, not with shouting, but with order. The 40% tip has already bought a new kind of loyalty. The house is once again mine.